12 o'clock. Open the meeting.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. In the first order of business, I would like to commend the town clerk and the entire team for the way the election was handled.
Thank you.
Yes, so it was. I received wonderful feedback. People felt safe. They felt the process was efficient and very effective. So I want to commend on behalf of this board our appreciation to you and to all of your team.
Thank you, thank you. We did have a lot of people call out too, so that was good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So number-wise, for the special election, was it similar or lower than the election we had in May?
It was higher.
It was higher. Okay.
May town election was, I think, if I remember correctly, like 11% maybe? We did 38% on both.
Yeah, okay, so I thought that was pretty high.
So that's 11% physical vote.
11% was our annual town election in May.
But that wasn't mail-in. We didn't have,
There was mail-in
There was
ballots.
mail-in,
Yeah, because that was when this whole thing started. So there was mail-in
so
ballots.
11% includes the mail-in.
Typical local election, people don't always come out for, because it was, this special one was with the primary.
Yeah, with the state primary, so.
Said in their card for the September 1st election, you have to send both ballots. They may have not have known that there was a special, so when they got it, they realized that they voted.
So then generally, was the primary similar to previous, no? Higher?
Much higher. That was a very busy, but we were told that was probably going to be busy because it was a pretty contested race.
Right.
So.
Yep.
So, no, 2016, the primary was 3%. This one was 38. Yeah. We were surprised because the amount of ballots that we got, that we mailed out, and then it was nonstop busy during the day. You know, you'd have your little lags, but it was pretty busy. So, but all in all, it went well, so. Thank you.
Voters who previously filled out paperwork to say that they want mail-in ballots should expect to receive their presidential ballot when?
If they filled out the card that they got in September that said checked all elections, then they will get it for November. We haven't gotten the ballots yet, but we hope to have them by the first week in October. They were promised to us around October 5th.
And if people did not respond,
If they did not respond to that first mailing at the Secretary of State's office, and it is not in the state computer system that they requested anything, they should have received another card that was just mailed out, and they can fill that out.
Yeah.
If not, they can always, fill out the vote by mail application.
Is
which
that
they can take
online or they
online.
have to physically come in?
Nope, it's online. It's online. It's Secretary of State's office. It's on our website. They could stop here and get one. So.
I'm sorry.
How did it work with the drop-off of ballots here at town hall?
Well, we can talk about that too, because I mean, one of our, what is our second agenda item? Well, yeah, let's start with the reorganization.
So you've called the meeting to order, and the second order of business is to reorganize the board. We normally have rotated that. This will be the completion of my second term.
I've had it.
Does anybody
Before.
want to nominate it and just?
Well, I'll nominate Jerry if he's interested.
Sure. Thank you.
Is there a second? All in favor there?
I didn't vote.
Okay. All righty. Unanimous then. How's that? Congratulations, Sherry. You're now the new chair.
Thank you.
So you guys want to switch now, or you're going to continue?
I think this meeting starts with her and ends with her.
Okay.
After this meeting.
Discuss early voting by person and for the remaining 2020 elections.
Okay, so that's where we can talk about all that. I mean, this year, the House and Senate voted under the election laws, Chapter 115 of the Acts of 2020, there were many changes that typically don't end up happening during election. With the vote by mail, mandatory vote in person with weekend hours that are mandatory, that aren't typically mandatory. Also, most of these are temporary changes. However, the permanent changes are the deadline to request an absentee ballot or an early voting ballot is 5 p.m. on the fourth business day before the election. So for September's already passed. So for October, it's October 28th is the
October or
last day
November?
that you can vote, ask for a vote by mail application be mailed.
That's for the November election.
November, yeah, we're past September, so
October 28th is the last day you
to ask for the ballot be mailed to you.
How can,
A vote by mail application, no, because they have from now until, you have to request that be mailed to you. You have to fill that in by 5 o'clock on the fourth day before the election. It used to be that you could do all the way up until the day before an election. Well, what are the chances are you're going to get the ballot?
Right.
So we were getting requests to mail them, if we got the application, mail out the ballot. There wasn't any way they were going to get the ballot. So that is
4
a
days is
permanent.
not even enough because you're gonna mail it, let's say 2 days by the time they get it, they need to bring it back, correct?
Right. Well, that's another thing. I mean, I have a relationship with the post office. I'm bringing the ballots.
We have one
to-
post office, we don't have
I'm
multiple.
bringing them to the post office daily. I am telling them what's in Auburn as far as the ballots. So they're keeping them in town. They're not sending them to the distribution
Processing
center.
center or anything.
So they literally, if they're in town, they are getting the next day. So, but with that law,
As far as
they feel
receiving
that
it,
it's
we're gonna receive it through mail or we have a mailbox dedicated?
as
Like I know
far
some towns
as
that
them
do-
bringing them back. So when they brought them back, they were either dropping them into the Dropbox,
So we
or
have
they could mail
dedicated-
hand in person or the Dropbox. But I have ordered a official ballot box that will be in the front of Town Hall. That will
Some towns are
kind of
doing-
like a mailbox that will say ballots
Voting.
only, official ballot box. So they can put them in there, and we'll be checking those daily. They cannot drop them off at the kiosk
Okay.
because
How are we going to prevent that?
I had a sign up that, and they're told in the kiosk not to be taking ballots, so.
Oh, I get you.
I mean, they can drop off an application that is going to get to us, but ballots can't be dropped off there.
And can they be put in the back slot over here?
They still could be
They
put in the
okay.
official Dropbox, or they can,
Oh, okay, I misunderstood you. Okay.
yeah, they can be put in the Dropbox in the back if they wanted to, or they can put it in the new ballot box when it comes. So again, if you're going to vote by mail, you're going to vote by mail, you should be calling and asking for that
Well
application.
advertised now and it's.
Right, and that's what they're saying. If you request your ballot early, mail your ballot early, drop it off, get it out there. So by that cutoff date of having to request the application, and it has to be back by 5 o'clock, 4 days prior to an election, I think everybody's there. Anyways, in addition to the laws, that is a permanent one. That's not changing. That is one of the permanent changes to absentee and vote by mail.
And your early voting?
Our early voting in person is for 14 days. That's October 17th through October 30th. That will be held at the Senior Center in the rear room. Although the Senior Center is closed to the public, it will only be for early voting in person. They'll have to come to the back door. It'll be limited on how many can be in there, to allow for
Staff it for 14 days?
I have to staff it for 14 days,
Don't
and I
differ.
have mandatory weekend hours thanks to this, that is never enforced. They're never mandatory. And with the vote by mail applications that went out and the vote by mail, that everybody's voting, not many people were going to vote in person, but they wanted every option available to the voter. So I think we had maybe, I think it was like just under 200 that voted in person, and we had 7 days of that. So this is 14 days. I don't know what November will be. Obviously, the percentage is going to be higher, but, so anyways, the senior center is closed to the public. That will only be for early voting in person. You'll have to go to the back. Only so many people will be able to be in. There'll be social distancing, and it will be very safe. I've already got it set up.
So you're gonna be doing it by the districts?
No. Voting in person is always come in, check in, you're given your ballot, you go vote in the voting booth, you put your ballot into the envelope, just like you would if you voted at home. However, you don't have to fill out an application.
Oh, they don't process.
Don't have to fill out an application.
No, they don't process it. They don't put it.
They're not going to put it through a tabulator. I do have a ballot box that they'll put it in, and then we take those and have to scan those into the state computer.
So you're gonna scan that the day off, or?
Each day that is voting, yes, we'll be at the senior center for early voting. Then we'll take all those ballots back here, scan them in, and then protect them until we process them, which leads to the next thing.
So one quick question though, what's the difference between scanning them and processing them? Could you explain that?
Well, let's start at the beginning. When you apply for an early voting ballot with that application, okay, that was sent to you, it comes to us. We have to scan it into the state computer. And then we received your application. Then we wait for the ballots to come. Then we print labels. And now we have to put the ballot in the envelope, put the label on it, get it all set to mail to the voter. Once that's all set, we go back into the state computer to scan it in, that we have mailed it out. Now the voter receives that, votes on that ballot, and is sent back to us or dropped off to us or dropped in the drop box to us, and we get it. We open it. We check it to make sure they signed it, and many were sent back that were not signed, so then it has to be rejected and another one has to be mailed out to them. So then we would scan it again to let the state know that we received the ballot, and then we have to put it in a container and alphabetize all these ballots that we have, protect them until we process them. Normally, you would process them on election day. They would be brought to the polls on election day. With the legislation that was passed this year, you could do early processing or early tabulation. So for September, we did early processing, early tabulation. So on the same days that they were doing early voting, we were in a different corner, opening all of those, checking them in, and putting them in through the tabulator. You just can't run totals until election day.
And this is what allows someone to go onto the state computer system and
Track my
track the ballot?
Yep.
Okay.
That, it's not there, it's us.
Yeah.
Us, when, so you'll know when we mailed it out, you'll know when we received it.
Yeah. I'll repeat, well done.
So with these early voting ballots, mailing in person, you're touching those ballots many times. So it took enormous amount of workers. I had many in town hall that was helping, and I thank the entire town hall employees for helping us, because it was a lot of mailing out. And like I said, that was only 38%. We don't know what to expect for November, but even if we did 50%, of our registered voters, which we have 12,000 voters. 50% of that is 6,000 ballots. So we've already started.
I mean, I came in for office hours, I did 2 hours of alphabetizing, and, you know,
We thank you for it.
it makes the time go by, but at the same time, it's, you know, it's work.
So those are some of the changes, I mean, as far as, and that's just for the remaining elections this year. Do we think that they'll go through with early processing forever? It could be. Vote by mail, they're already saying the vote by mail is probably going to be here in 2022. So, yeah. I mean, typically, early voting in person is only on biennial years. So every other year in the November state election is the only time you can. They did it for the presidential primary. They did it for local elections. They did it for September primary and November. So, I mean, the way, nobody knows. So that was what we wanted to, you know, get out there. And does anybody have any questions on that?
So next on the agenda is the additional election officers and appointments.
Okay, so you want to look at them first and pass down? So that's another thing. We do have a good long list of election workers. However, a lot of them didn't want to work this past local election, and where we were still in the same situation that we were in, they weren't working September, and some aren't working November. I did have up on the state website, you know, poll workers, and I did advertise for poll workers, and I'm going to say I probably get at least 10 a week that are asking to be poll workers. People are getting involved. So that's why I said, you know what, I have another list. We saw what we needed in September, so this will be busier.
And they would
Looks like almost all of them use undecided, except one R and two Ds out
Yeah,
of.
that's another thing in the legislation. If by chance I was still short, because typically the Board of Selectmen do the appointments. If they don't do them between that month of July 15th and August 15th, we've been doing them.
They never done
If-
it in the last 6 years.
They did them this year. They did appoint this year.
So this is in addition to those?
Those are in addition to those. If by chance I am still short 3 weeks before the election in this law, I can appoint. So I figured with, you know, people asking, and, you know, these are mostly town residents, but there are a few. You don't have to be a town resident. 16 and 17-year-olds can be poll workers.
You don't
I've had
have
a
to
few.
be town resident?
That you do not have to be a town resident to be a poll worker. You can work in any town. Or volunteer, because I did have some people that volunteer from other towns, because I was listed on the state website, so I said, check with your own town first. They'd call back and say, no, they don't need any help, so, you know, I did pick up a few that way too.
And I'm guessing if they don't have to be residents, they don't have to be registered to vote either.
They should be a registered voter, however, 16 and 17-year-olds can volunteer, so they are
If
not
a
voters.
20-year-old is a resident, let's say in Oxford,
They should be a registered voter.
in Oxford.
No, you're just asking Oxford.
No, if they're you said they don't need to be a resident of Auburn.
They don't have to be a registered voter in Auburn to be a poll worker.
Okay, that's what I was.
Okay.
But they need to be registered in their own respective town.
A 16 and 17-year-old is not a registered voter, and they can be appointed as a poll worker.
So what we,
So typically, a poll worker, we should have
Yeah, that's what I was
an
asking.
equal balance between the parties. However, in this day and age, we do not have an equal balance between the parties. And most are unenrolled voters. So I just, you can't put two of the same party beside each other, but
You can put
unenrolled.
two unenrolled. Okay.
Yeah, I try to space the unenrolled between a party person, so.
So we've had great success using the high school kids in the past. Are we going to be able to do that?
I have talked to the government teacher. He is really hoping, but with this year, and he has to really see what the school is going through, how the new superintendent feels about it. But I have already talked to him, and he really wants to. It really depends on what the school says, because. So we'll, if he does, then we'll want to do a training again. So if anybody wants to participate in that again, I'll let you know. But at this point, like I said, he wants to. It really depends on what's happening with the school at the time.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And do the individuals, these are new appointees, correct?
They will be once you appoint them.
And so do they all require training at this point?
Well, that's another thing. I've talked to Chris. I am going to do a training, but it may be a virtual training with them, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I did do a training with the other ones that were appointed, but I don't know that I would get that in. So I may have to do some type of virtual training, but yes, they will.
So do we need a motion to make these appointments?
Yeah.
Is there a motion to make the appointments of this list?
Second.
Poll workers, all in favor? Motion carries, thank you. So I think we've covered item number 5 about the Auburn High School AP government students. I think I would encourage that possibility. I attended that training.
They
Wonderful
love doing
opportunity.
it. They love doing it. I mean, it's a school volunteer. I want to say community service. They do it as far as the school doing it as the classroom and participating that way. It would definitely be a school thing. I did have one student contact me, and I said to him, "Are you in that class?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Then talk to him when you get there. If by chance the school doesn't, and he still wanted to, he could on his own. But as that group participation in them doing it the way that they have, I think that will come down to the school making their decision."
Those are in addition to our.
Those are in addition, yeah. And it's more, community service is more on learning experience for them. And it was definitely helpful because we were processing the early voting ballots on election day. So,
Checking in is online. They're doing it with the iPads now.
we do the check. Well, we still have to use paper because although that is in the law that it was supposed to be passed also, that wasn't totally. So we have to do it in conjunction with paper. You use the poll
What?
pad, we use the poll pad and then check it on the paper too. So we do both.
Well, I'm hopeful that the students would be able to participate because they
I
were
am too.
certainly engaged when they were there.
They really appreciate it.
Voter registration coverage.
Yes.
So the last,
So that is, again, 10 days prior. That was another thing that was in the law, that it isn't the 20 days prior. It's only 10 days. We only have to do the 2 to 4 and 7 to 8 on the Saturday,
Again?
October 24th. So, those would be the hours. So again, although we can't do early voting in person outdoors, the one thing election said, if you wanted, you could do that outdoors. Mike came in, we were alphabetizing, so he was in. I have notes, I have signs on the door that says voter registration. It is posted on the website that the voter registration, where it is. However, knock loudly if you did come here, just so, he's here. Jerry, did you end up staying outside or coming in?
I came in, I stayed
Sat
next
in
to
the
the door.
foyer,
Yeah,
just in case, yeah.
Nobody came in.
Right, I had the
I mean, in
same.
this day and age, people are either calling well in advance Or they're going online and
Right, there's so many ways.
at some point, we'll probably, they won't probably ever do, but they keep telling us they're moving closer and closer to same-day registration, so I don't know what that would entail. Because even this, I mean, you already started, people already requested ballots, and there's still voter registration. So if they requested a ballot under a certain party in the primary, and then changed their party, you couldn't accept that, so 10 days before is when it's already begun. But anyway, so times.
I think we could maybe work up that schedule. Everybody wants to check their calendar.
Okay. All right, check.
Yeah, I'm free, but
All right, so just as long as you know, it's October 24th. Those are the hours.
2 to 4 and
2 to 4, 7 to 8, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, it's a nice day, and I mean, chances are it'll be the same as I have early voting in person from 8 to noon that day at the senior center, and then obviously we'd be scanning ballots or maybe early processing.
so is it possible to do it at the senior center? To do the registration, or is it better to have the computers?
Yeah, I would say not, only because only so many people can fit in there, and if by chance, I mean, I have it posted on the web that it's here.
To start, but why is the voting in the senior center?
It's only early voting in person,
No, but why is it not here?
because town hall is closed.
Oh,
Town hall is closed and I can't let people into the building. The senior center is closed, but there aren't, it'll be closed off from the few that work there. For early voting in person to be here at town hall, it's too close quarters down there, so you couldn't socially distance. We've got workers in the building, they'd have to come up the elevator. It just wouldn't work out. Normally it is.
as far as town hall, is there any guidance from the governor or anything about this?
It comes down to your own local government, when it's gonna open.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll come down to the town manager.
Is there
And
any expectations?
I couldn't answer that.
January or end of year or whatever?
We have our little kiosk outside and it's working. The little drive-up window outside, that little,
I
yeah.
thought it was security for the parking lot.
No,
That's what I thought.
No, it's drop off of documents. and
drop
things
off
like that.
documents, you can pick up stuff there as long as you request it in advance. If somebody wants to pick up a birth certificate, if they call us the day before, either pay for it online or they can bring the payment that day. It'll be out there the next day. So anything that they can do inside, they have been able to do out there. We have limited appointment hours for people, but nobody has made an appointment to come into town hall. They've been able to do all their business, so I can't answer that.
That's not up to the it's not the governor.
No, it's each municipality makes their own, of what they, we have listing books too. Do you want yours online, the listing book, you? And
Yeah,
I
PDF.
usually like that, and I know you like paper.
I like the paper.
Last time you sent me Excel too.
No, I don't think so. Did I?
PDF?
Yeah, PDF. Yeah, okay.
The minutes from the last meeting.
Who wants to start? I said, there's the minutes from the last meeting. That was a nice long meeting.
Would you like me to read them, or
No, just, can you pass them? We
pass them
can-
around? Okay.
have to make another, I think the next thing is probably adjournment, but we may have to schedule another meeting.
Another meeting? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to,
Before the planning board?
after the election.
After the election.
I mean, it would be for country ballots, any of the hearing that we had. Typically, we would schedule that meeting for the date to count ballots. So we could schedule that.
At absentee ballots.
There, yeah, out of country absentee
Is it
ballots.
still processed separately, absentee separate
The
than
vote by mail, well, vote by mail ballots have to be in by 8 o'clock on election night.
Or stamped sent? Or received? Sent or received?
In all elections, all ballots have to be in by 8 PM on election night. However, you cover out of the country that go overseas, military, anybody that has requested a ballot, if it's mailed, it has to be postmarked by November 3rd, but we may not receive it for up to, I think it's November 13th that they have, that they can be counted by 5 o'clock that night. The majority of those voters get them in electronic format. Only, I think, 2 were actually mailed. So those 2 we could have to count. So we should schedule a meeting for that date.
So they,
November 13th.
so they had the option, so that, could you, just for the record,
They have
explain
the-
what UCAVA is and?
Uniform, out of the country,
Okay.
voting,
Okay.
citizens.
Primarily military?
It's any voter living out of the country, residing out of the country, or military. If they check either one of those, uniform service, or they have family members, they can request that ballot, and that can be emailed to them or mailed, and they tell us which way they want it. However, once they get that electronic mail, they could mail it back, they could email it back, and if we mailed it to them, then they have days, it has to be postmarked by November 3rd, but we can get it after that. As long as it's postmarked by November 3rd, then we would count it.
And they could
So-
email it back.
They could email,
So
they can
scan it and email it back
but
to the
there's forms
office.
that they have to sign to be able to do that.
Okay.
So not to be confused. So the ones that would be mailed, that were postmarked by November 3rd, but received after the 3rd, would have to be counted by us. So we probably should schedule that meeting, should we have any.
Is that a specific date?
I think it's November 13th.
Before November 13th? Or
No, it would be November 13th. If by chance I got all the ballots back, then we can cancel that meeting and we wouldn't have to have it. Now, in this, I don't know if it's here that it says it, but I think, I'm not sure, there was talk on ballots being postmarked by the 3rd and having until November 6th to count, but I don't know if that was in here. So I don't know that we have to schedule a meeting for that, but if we do, we'll have to schedule another one. But the November 13th is the UCAVA meeting that we typically schedule. We haven't had one of those in a very long time that we've had to actually count them because they've always been in.
I just want to get back to the minutes first. Everybody's had a chance to review them. Are there any?
So I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Right.
Motion carries to approve the minutes. Is there any other business to come before the board? Okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.